Hi everyone, today we have a special video. I have a special guest with me. This is my friend Khosrow. I thought we'd do a bit of a different video today because I've had a few requests to do more men's fragrances, but I don't actually have that many men's fragrances in my collection. I have unisex fragrances. So I thought, well, who do I know that has an awesome collection and who knows a little bit about perfume? And so I thought of Kos. Now, Kos and I actually met because I started this YouTube channel, and he has been the one secretly providing me in the background some of the bottles that I have been reviewing. So whenever I say this is not my bottle, it's usually his. So thank you. Today I thought we would talk just through some of Kos's fragrances. He's selected quite a few to talk to. So do you want to talk about why you chose these ones?
They represent, I guess, the kind of things that I would definitely wear. They're not, I don't own them just because. Yeah. They're things I think, well, they're definitely things that have changed in terms of my tastes over time. You know, as I mentioned to you before, there's at least one of them there that when it was first released, I sort of dismissed it, but it was released at the same time as another one that really caught my attention and it has been an enduring favorite. So yeah, it represents a little bit of old me, current me. Yeah, so...
Nice. Well, let's just jump in, shall we?
So
we're going to be presenting a couple at a time. So the first one is Terre de Hermes. I'll let you explain the significance of the two bottles.
Yeah, the ones that I own, the original. The original is my favorite, which is the one you're holding.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the EDT. Twist.
It's Twist.
It's no rip off. So it is known to have about 50% Isoe Super in it. But for me, it sort of almost skirts the line of an Oriental.
Right.
Sort of aromatic, whilst it is mainly citrus and vetiver with a background of cedar. The EDT I prefer is sort of easier to wear than the Parfum, the pure Parfum, the straight. It's a bit more sparkly. It's effervescent. And particularly for our weather, where we live, our city, we don't, you know.
It definitely is,
it's
I mean, just
easy
smelling
to
it out
wear.
of the cap, but it definitely... I think I like the EDT better as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, I love vetiver and I love woody fragrances.
So that's, I mean, obviously a lot deeper.
Yeah,
probably
this is
maybe up to
more
30%.
of a winter
Absolutely.
version. Yeah.
But it's not. I've never found it too cloying, which is a good thing as well. Which is maybe something to do with the ingredients as well, or a balance, because cedar is in there, and cedar is typically a drier note. But the other thing that I like about it that gives it, I think, a little bit of an edge is it has this flint note. Yeah, it's like a gunpowder.
Right.
Sort of.
Now I'm going to want to spray it on a piece of paper.
Yeah. So this, when it was quite heavily promoted in Australia, I remember it was around the same time that Dior Homme was being heavily promoted as well. I remember the ladies, the sales reps in the department stores sort of handing them out, and I clearly remember another one which we'll talk about, which is here, being handed to me, and it's funny, I sort of vaguely remember that one, people were sidestepping for this one.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
so I love this,
For the Parfum or the EDT?
No, the EDT.
Right.
The Parfum hadn't been released yet. So I think
Okay.
the Parfum came a couple years later.
Right.
So this is 2005, 2006 off the top of my head.
Well, I do like them both, actually. The Parfum smells a bit greener.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. I really love that. I I mean, I know a lot of people talk about this, but I've never, for some reason, I've just never picked it up. Maybe because everyone talks about it so much. But I'm really liking this now. I think I might have to pick it up
very
myself.
much. I mean, you know, you get into this hobby enough. People say there's no gender with fragrance, but there's something very masculine in this, to my nose or my scent memory. It's very man.
Yes,
about it.
It is quite masculine. I have to agree. And are they both still available? Sorry, I don't know.
They're
if
not discontinued. So there's two flankers. Yeah, there's the one that has most recently been done by the newest in-house perfumer for Hermes, that has taken over Jean-Claude Elena. It's a female. Oh gosh, I should know. But anyway, I went on to Vetyver. And then the other one is maybe possibly the most popular, which is the Eau Fraiche.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a light version.
Right.
Because, yeah, this is a bit polarizing from what I understand. Not everyone loves this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
Oh, well, there you go. Terre de Hermes. All right, the next one is L'Instant. Is that how you say it? L'Instant de Guerlain.
I've never learned French, but yeah. L'Instant, I think.
L'Instant.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I totally got that wrong on mine.
We'll stick to our Australian pronunciation.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. Okay, so tell me about these ones, because I have the women's version. I bought the EDT, and I'm contemplating not keeping that.
Yeah. It's a lot fruitier, isn't it? They're not
it's very much so.
The same
and
lines,
the Parfum, I think, has quite a, I don't know, I think it had a Lang in it, but it was I don't know, it just did not work on me at all. Immediately, I disliked it.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar. I think I may have smelled it once, just out of curiosity.
This smells quite different to the women's one. Yeah. So tell me about these.
These are...
Is this the EDT?
Yes,
that's the EDT and the
and
Parfum.
they're obviously the older style bottles. I'm flexing my vintage extreme. Yeah, but why not? So yeah, on that, the extreme, that dark rimmed bottle that is sort of, I don't know, put on a bit of a pedestal in the fragrance collecting community.
Is it still available?
No.
Right.
Well, they continue it as part of their line, but I recall reading somewhere they needed to change it from the original formula because of one key note, which is LME resin, which the EU or European restrictions changed the rules on in terms of how it can be used in fragrance.
Yeah.
So,
do you know what I'm kind of getting from this?
What do you smell?
You're gonna laugh at me because it's probably got nothing to do with the notes, but it smells like after dinner mints to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it has that herbaceous-y, patchouli.
It's gorgeous.
Note about it, but I love that because it's
Really
dark
like it.
cacao, and it's quite realistic. I don't get that synthetic or this is a mock version of something that I'm very familiar with, which is cacao. I love dark chocolate, so I'm very familiar with that smell. But yeah, that embodies it. It's got a little bit of orange, and it's like a spiced dark chocolate brownie or something.
Right. Yeah.
That maybe has a little bit of
That is really good.
patchouli in it. Yeah,
Really
maybe
good.
a lot.
So do you think that, how does the LME contribute to this, do you reckon, to what we're smelling?
I think that when I bought the newer version, the redone version in the Listerine style bottles.
Yeah.
It smelled like, I don't know. Sometimes it's a weird example, but when you've tried to mix two colors to make red and blue to make it purple, and it's turned into brown or something.
Yes.
I almost feel as though whoever reassembled the formula for it in the newer bottle got it wrong. Something's missing, and it's a little bit muddled.
Yeah.
To my nose anyway, and I didn't enjoy it. but it's probably because my nose has been spoiled by this, and I want this, and you're like, no,
and you're disappointed that it's not that.
So, but anyway, you can't buy that anymore. This one you can buy, and I have smelt the modern version of the EDT, the original, which is a lot lighter, less of the cacao, a little bit more citrusy.
Yeah, much more citrusy.
What maybe someone would describe as sheer compared to the darker rims. But the development, the way this changes over time, and it has a nice long dry down. It's really nice. It's really pleasing to sort of wear over a long day. So sometimes I wear this to work, and just like a single spray to the back of my neck. That's generally when I can tell how long a fragrance will last and how, if at all, it will change. And this is one of the ones that always, I get it. Enjoyment out of wearing. So
that's a good point actually, because that's an EDT and you only wear one spray of it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, how you wear your fragrance?
Yeah, I mean, I've been into fragrances since like my teens, middle teens, late teens, and I'm pretty sure like I've had enough of the mid-90s bottles to know EDTs, when you looked at the bottom of the bottle, from the 90s especially, were a lot of times 78%, 80% alcohol, which means the rest of that is probably going to be perfume. Nowadays, I doubt that it's that much concentration. Like manufacturers probably, cost cutting or whatever, have really diluted fragrances, or they're using a lot more Izoe Super to throw a fragrance and make it last. But I generally am not an oversprayer. I think I used to be when I was a lot younger. But I probably didn't understand it back then because I wasn't as into it now, with the internet particularly and research, to know that I was probably giving myself nose fatigue whilst blowing out whoever was around me. So
you told me an interesting story a couple of weeks ago about a fellow wearing a Ventus that came into your workplace or something. And
so I work in a medical setting, and I have to be very careful with what I wear. But anyway, this guy had come straight from work, so he'd been at work all day, and even as we're sort of collecting him from admissions or whatever, bringing him up to the clinic, he had the most amazing sillage around him, this scent bubble. Very classy, very not intrusive. Like it wasn't like biting at you or So he hadn't worn much, but it had lasted him obviously the whole day. I asked. Normally I just leave the patients alone. Like I'm just let him be. But I have to ask you. And he said, you probably don't know it. It's this. It's an expensive one. And he said it was Creative Ventus. And I was poker face. I was like, In the back of my mind, I was like, wow. He had worn this the whole day. And if it's one thing, if you've ever been down the rabbit hole of collecting or trying to acquire some unicorn batch of Ventus, you pick up on the forums that a lot of times guys will complain that it doesn't perform. But I think it's one of these fragrances that notoriously it gives nose burn, fatigue, olfactory fatigue. So anyway, that's in itself.
Well, I thought that was a really interesting story because you have actually, we've talked about this many times, and you have actually influenced me to be a little bit more reserved with the application of perfume because I have traditionally been quite an oversprayer, and I have sort of been cutting it back lately, and I have been finding that I can still smell my fragrance at the end of the day. They do last a lot longer, so it's interesting to think, especially over COVID when I was, I'd feel like by lunchtime I couldn't smell anything, so I'd put something else on. So to everybody else, I must have smelled very confusing.
I can't remember who it was that suggested the idea of just one spray to the back of the neck when first testing a fragrance. But it's something that I've followed, and it's worked for me. Particularly with fragrances that maybe on reviews and things, people swear or complain that this doesn't perform, this doesn't last. And I never take that advice anymore. I test to do the one spray at the back of my neck, and I find it always tells me how long something will last on my skin at least. So, so.
And it is different for everybody, I think, but I do think that maybe my fragrances are lasting longer than I thought they were. So, listen to me. All right. Okay, so the next two that we're looking at is Heritage by Guerlain. Now, are these look like old bottles?
They are original release bottles. So
okay.
Again, another weird flex from me, but they're the bottles I own. Okay, so.
That's why I love going through your collection. Okay, so this is the Eau de Parfum, and then we have the Eau de Toilette.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give those a bit of a spritz.
So yeah, I've admittedly only smelled these recently. I think I may have avoided them for the longest time, without particularly trying very hard to, because I thought Guerlain was an older person's brand.
Okay, yeah.
That was
I don't think you're the first person to say that
yeah,
or think that.
I thought that it was, I don't know, it had at least to a lay person, that sort of air about it. But this has become one of, I regard one of the best compositions of a fragrance of its type that I've ever smelled.
Right. I think I like the Eau de Parfum better.
Yeah, it's got something deeper about it. Yeah. But yeah, I was lucky enough to find these from a online store in Singapore, and the Parfum from a guy in Perth, a fellow collector in Perth. But
nice.
The main thing you get out of Heritage is sandalwood for me, like a spiced sandalwood.
It's definitely spicy, yeah.
Yeah, and when I say spice, not chili, but like a cardamom and...
Yeah, I like it a lot, actually.
It's very soft, it's very easy to wear, it's non-offensive, but it's very classy, it's not trying too hard, it's very clean sort of smell.
No,
it's great, and if they're from the early 90s, I don't find it dated in terms of the smell. But
no, I don't either. I think it smells... It doesn't smell... I wouldn't say that it smells modern, but it doesn't smell... It just smells really classy, It smells like I wouldn't expect to smell this on a younger man.
No. I prefer this to Abbey Rouge, which, I mean, connoisseurs and things regard as a higher tier than this, particularly because it's vintage or whatever from the 60s. But
yeah,
I love the opening of Abbey Rouge. It's like this really nice lemony smell. But I get that old man vibe from it. So,
the Habit Rouge.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's funny because I actually really, really like this, and I would like to wear this.
Yeah, I reckon it's unisex in today's sort of...
And I mean, it's funny because I do think that fragrances are unisex, but for some reason I still don't look to go to the men's side of the fragrance counter, when I'm shopping or looking at fragrances. So... and I don't know, it's just habit, I suppose. I mean, I like I said, I have lots of unisex fragrances, but I just never think to actually go and spritz a few men's fragrances when I'm looking for something for myself. So, yeah, it's interesting. All right, next up.
Yes.
Well, you should all be recognising this bottle. So we've got Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense. Tell me about these ones.
So when I was describing the fragrance that I sort of sidestepped back in the early 2000s, when it was being pushed out, it was this. so I
this
took
one, the EDT.
The EDT. Well, the EDP hadn't even been out. Intense hadn't been out, released yet. I think it was because when you're handed a fragrance blotter by a rep that smells like Terre, Hermes, and you're handed one that smells like Dior Homme, the Hermes smells like what you think a man should smell like.
Yeah.
Whereas the Dior Homme smells a little bit dandified.
Mm-hmm.
It has that sort of... It's the embodiment of metrosexuality, isn't it? It's the... I'm very clean, I'm very... Yeah, but now I don't care about that stuff. Like, I've become a dandy.
Well, it's funny that you use the word dandy,
Yeah.
because now that you say that, I'm going, well, because the iris is a little bit powdery.
You don't associate that
Yeah.
with what a guy would wear.
No,
And
no.
if you've been, the majority of us that sort of grew up with a mum that had a makeup bag, and that's what it smelled like. So that's what you associate with. But anyway, I find it really balanced, as you described. It was really cool watching that video that you did to review it, which I asked you to do. Because, you did it justice. I thought everything you said, I agree with. So I won't bang on about that. But yeah, this... I'm smiling because... I don't know if I want to say it on camera.
Say it.
If I go on a date, I wear that. Yeah.
It is a really good one.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I really love this stuff. Oh, so good.
Yeah,
so this is...
chocolatey.
Yeah, it's nighttime. Get close to me. Definitely sort of a bit more mysterious than the EDT.
Yeah, the EDT I think is you wear to a nice... I think it has a lot of uses. But you've got to be... You can't be sweaty and coming from the gym. I would never wear that to a sports thing. It doesn't match up. This is... I'm clean, I'm going out, but it's during the day. That is, I'm going out and I'm going out.
Yeah. See, I see... If I get a picture of, what I would expect a man to look like wearing either one of these, this is sort of nighttime, maybe wearing like a nice sports jacket or something, not too... It's not necessarily tuxedo.
He's put in some effort, yeah.
But this is a suit fragrance to me. It feels like somebody really clean cut.
At least the button-up shirt.
Yeah. So
I'd wear it with a polo or something. Like, I'm not too serious.
yeah,
about
I
that
know.
kind of thing,
But I'm not saying that you have to wear it with a suit. I'm just saying that that's the image I get when I think about these two fragrances side by side. I feel like the EDT is more clean cut, and this is a little bit...
It's like the final layer of polish.
Yes.
To
Polished,
a kind
that's the
of...
word. Yeah. All right, so we're getting to the tail end now, and these are all just single fragrances.
Yes.
So the first one is Tower number 2, which is a favourite of mine as well. I love this fragrance. Okay, so I'll let you talk about your experience with this fragrance.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know Tower as a brand until I guess it's my second foray into getting into fragrances, and then getting really thrust into the world of niche and so forth. So this was one of the first niche acquisitions that I made. And to me, it smells like an oven cooking spiced cookies. It gives me that.
Really?
Yeah. I love the smell of it in winter, which, I mean, we have maybe 2 weeks of here.
Yes. Did we even get that this year? I'm not sure. Maybe
It's
one.
been a long sort of cool season this year,
Yeah.
but not particularly
cold. Yeah, I agree. So I really love the Au Cœur du Desert.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the first one that came out. This is the EDT, this is beautiful as well. But oh wow, the spiced cookie thing is interesting. That's what you get from it.
That's off of my skin, like one sort of spray at the back of my neck. And the other great thing about doing the one spray at the back of your neck is you'll forget you're wearing something maybe, and then it reminds you when you turn your head or you're moving around and going about your business.
Like that. Yeah.
And if sometimes wearing a fragrance like that is cool because it's less imposing, or particularly if you spray it in front of you, you'll lose it because you just sort of gotten accustomed to it, and then
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I like I will spray perfume into my hairbrush and then brush my hair.
Right.
And I think that's why I like it, because you don't always, I mean, a lot of the time I wear my hair up, so, you know, it's only when I move that I actually get that smell coming.
But then do you find it mixes with your shampoo smell? Like, do you have to?
My shampoo isn't that strongly scented, so no, not really.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a good one. All right. That's L'air du Desert Marocain. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so as I was saying, I really like the Au Cœur du Desert as well. Yeah. I think that's my favourite of the two. But I mean, it's not really, because different times of year I will gravitate towards this over the AC.
Well, the last time I wore Au Cœur du Desert was the only time I wore it in public, because I feel like it's a bit much.
You think it's too strong, yeah.
I wore it to a Halloween party because this is going to sound a bit strange. I wore it because I wanted to give off the smell of something mossy and ghoulish. I don't know. Like, it gives me that vibe that it's sort of stuffy and it's really imposing. I really shouldn't have worn it. I think it was a costume in itself. Yeah. On top of whatever or my costume was. I'm trying to remember what I wore, but it drew people away from it. I'm not kidding.
Right. Yeah, note to self: don't wear Au Cœur du Desert in your presence. Yeah, so. All right. The next one is a pretty special one. The bottle is actually empty, but I do have a little sample roller from a sample set. But this is Vetyver by Mona Orio. Yeah. Le nombre do Vetyver.
Yeah. So I mean, it's got the symbol for the golden ratio on it. If I'm correct, it can be translated to the golden ratio, but it's the golden numbers. That's the collection it comes from. I think this is a sleeper. Frankly, I love Vetyvers, Vetyver fragrances, which is it's grass that is predominantly from coastal, like island nations.
Yep.
I think Indonesia does it. Some islands of Africa are famous for it, and then Haiti. But anyway, that stuff aside, this is my favorite Vetyver fragrance that I've come across.
Right.
And I'm awaiting a backup, a new bottle of that in the mail. But this is super sexy. It has sort of like a skin sweat. It's funny, I heard that for the longest time on videos and people were reviewing fragrances. It smells like someone's sweat, and I was just like, do I want to smell like that? You know, but I don't know. Maybe what they were describing, whatever fragrance they were talking about, was something different. But I think it's cumin that creates that smell, or caraway seeds, or something like that. Whereas with this, it's ginger, vetiver, and I forget what the citrus note or what's in there, but whatever. For me, this is super sexy to wear. This is an evening time again.
It's actually. So, because when I think of vetiver fragrances, and most of the vetiver fragrances that I have, they're very dry and grassy, but they're quite light. I don't have any super dark vetiver.
Yeah.
But this is quite dark, actually, for a vetiver fragrance.
It's thicker. Yeah. But I feel as though, I don't know, with some things, you get an impression someone's really taken time or care in creating it. I get that impression from that, so I really appreciate it. This is something special.
I agree. I think there's something special with this line. This isn't my favorite from the line, and when I think maybe because when I think of vetiver fragrances, this is not what I think of smelling. It is quite unique. It's quite different, but I like it. And I think the more I smell it, the more I like it, because I've only been, obviously sampling out of this tiny little vial. But it's not like to work or things that are a lot easier to wear that are not as I'm letting you know I'm wearing a fragrance type of choices. I'll wear Grey Vetyver, and I love Grey Vetyver to death. I'll wear Encre Noire and things. Those are the sort of that no-brainer, what are they dumb reach fragrances. Yeah. But this is where I know It's special. There is something. It smells a bit special, actually.
It's kind of the date choice for me as a guy. But.
And I do love the bottles. I even love the old bottle, but the new bottles are really nice too. Oh well, I look forward to smelling the new one.
Yeah.
All right. So last but not least is Royal Oud by Creed. Now, I had never smelled this before until you brought it around, and now I really like it. So I'm very upset with you because I can't afford Creed.
Well, it's from what I understand, it's one in their line that they charge more for per mil retail anyway than the rest of their line, like the other men's line. But whether that's to cover the extra cost of the ingredients, but. I mean, that's another story in itself with Creed. We won't go down that path. But,
not today. That's a whole other video.
This is my favorite from Creed, from the men's line. And I'm not particularly
really
a big Creed fan. Like, I prefer the Creed of old. So the way that I understand the Creed of old was very different to this fragrance. It was a lot of freshies and citrus fragrances. That carried sort of like this DNA of Creed you knew a Creed was a Creed by this salty kind of, I'm pretty sure it was ambergris base that carried through a lot of their fragrances, and it smelled amazing. It really sort of bound their fragrances. I don't know, it serves as a great fixative.
Yes.
Whereas this is very aromatic. This is a lot of cedar wood. It's got that sort of peppery smell about it. It's a type of oud that probably people wouldn't associate with the stereotypical Hindi oud. I think a lot of times people will anticipate oud as that smelly Hindi oud, which is the fermented funk. Whereas you've got all these shades of different varieties of oud, and who knows how much oud is actually in there.
This is a very clean
it's cedar heavy. Cedar is the dominant,
woody.
But that's so formal. That's maybe the most formal fragrance I have, and when I think of suit, I think of that.
Okay. I
get that. I would wear that to like a wedding, or you could see I barely used it, but it's really addictive type of smell. You keep smelling the atomizer. But if you want to put that final layer of, I don't know, masculine polish on a suit or something, you're going to go to a formal event, that's the one.
It's pretty good. It's very, very, very good, actually. I mean, I have a few fragrances with oud in them, and I did go through a phase where I was a little bit, I guess, preoccupied with oud and getting hold of oud fragrances. But to be honest, the ones that I like the most are the ones where the oud smells crisp and clean and woody rather than funky. So I'm not a funky oud person. Sure.
It's its own culture of itself, wearing oud, isn't it? I think the ones that, from my understanding of people that enjoy wearing oud or will wear oud, will wear it as an oil or as an attar.
That's right.
Rather than a parfum.
Yeah. And I did buy some oud oils, as you know, but they didn't last very long in this house. I just couldn't do it. I have to say that, eventually when they dried down, they did smell pretty good. But I don't want to have to wait 8 hours for something to start smelling good.
That goes hand in hand with that culture of wearing it, I guess.
Yes,
It's a different...
Yeah, exactly. So we've come to the end. Thank you so much for sharing these amazing fragrances with me, and also for sharing them with me for the purposes of reviewing, because it's been really, really interesting to discover some of these older discontinued fragrances. And I don't know how you source these fragrances. I mean, obviously a few of them you bought at the time, but you have this amazing knack for picking up fragrances that are vintage and
well, I collect vintage music as well. I haven't for a little while, but the best advice I got given was just to be patient.
Yes, absolutely. I'm learning it. I'm learning the patience slowly. Thank you so much for sharing these with us. I really appreciate it. I hope it's been interesting for everybody who's watching as well. And yeah, if you like the male side, the male fragrance side of reviewing, then by all means, please let me know if you would like to have more of these sorts of videos on my channel. And also, it'd be great to have Cos come back, because I know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, I know there's some really other great fragrances in your collection. So would love to see you come back and have a chat with us about the other fragrances that you have. But until then, I guess we'll close it out here and see you next time. Bye. I always feel so weird.